Pixar brings us joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear in their 15th animated feature, which takes us inside the mind of 11-year-old Riley. I'm Jan, and this is 25 things you probably didn't know about Inside Out. The basic design of each of the movie's 5 emotions was inspired by a particular shape. Joy is based on a star, sadness on an upside-down teardrop, fear on a nerve, anger on a fire brick, and disgust on broccoli, though director Pete Docter says he actually loves broccoli. When they were animating Joy, the filmmakers channeled a mix of Audrey Hepburn, Amelie star Audrey Tautou, and Bugs Bunny, and the way Joy moves was inspired by gymnasts. For sadness, the animators took cues from characters such as Wednesday Addams from The Addams Family and Debbie Downer from Saturday Night Live. While for disgust, they were inspired by Parks and Rec's April Ludgate and Veruca Salt from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And for fear, they referenced comedic actor Don Knotts and Mr. Bean. When it came to anger, even in their early pitches, the filmmakers had in mind comedian Lewis Black, who actually provides the voice for anger in the final movie. Caitlin Diaz, who plays 11-year-old Riley, was originally just hired to record a temporary voice track so the filmmakers could present their storyboard ideas, but they loved her performance so much that they cast her in the final movie. Not only was the story of Inside Out inspired by director Pete Docter's experience of his daughter Ellie growing up, but according to character art director Albert Lozano, Riley even looks like Ellie. Oh, and by the way, Ellie Docter was also the voice of young Ellie in Pixar's movie Up. Remember the scenes where Riley makes it quite clear she's not a fan of a particular green vegetable? Well, in Japan, kids generally like broccoli, so the filmmakers reanimated those scenes and replaced broccoli with green peppers. And while North American audiences watching Inside Out see Riley's dad daydreaming about ice hockey during dinner, in other places such as the UK, ice hockey was replaced with soccer. Riley's imaginary friend Bing Bong was partly inspired by Pete Docter's own imaginary friend from childhood, a car-driving little elephant called Norman. For Bing Bong, the animation team also channeled comic actors Oliver Hardy, Jackie Gleason, and John Candy. For the filmmakers, it was essential to give both the human world and the world inside Riley's mind a distinct look, so audiences could immediately tell the difference between them. So the artists looked to 1950s Broadway musicals for the bright, saturated colours of the mind world, and to give the human world a more real feel, there's more of a handheld or Steadicam look. To come up with the design of the long-term memory storage area, the filmmakers researched various manufacturing facilities. They took a tour of the Jelly Belly candy factory, where they were inspired by the way the colours moved through the tubes in their automated packaging machinery. And they also visited an egg processing plant to get ideas for how delicate objects like memories could be moved from one place to another. Pete Docter has described Dream Productions, the place where Riley's dreams and nightmares are created, as a mixture of Saturday Night Live and the magic of Hollywood. In fact, as inspiration for the movie, Docter spent a week observing behind the scenes of Saturday Night Live as a guest of Bill Hader, who plays the voice of Fear in Inside Out. Director Pete Docter and producer Jonas Rivera are both massive fans of Disneyland, so when it came to creating the right look for Imagination Land in Riley's mind world, theme parks were their biggest inspiration. When they were designing the subconscious, Inside Out's artists drew heavily on classic horror movies, especially for their theatrical lighting. To develop the look of the train of thought, which delivers daydreams and ideas in the mind world, the filmmakers visited a train museum and also consulted John Lasseter, who's not only Chief Creative Officer at Walt Disney and Pixar Animation Studios, but also a lifelong train enthusiast. Just like Riley, Pete Docter grew up in Minnesota and later moved to the Bay Area, though according to him in Inside Out, moving is more of a metaphor for growing up. The address of Riley's home in San Francisco is 21 Royal Street, which just happens to be the name of a new private dining venue at Disneyland. And as a nod to the Walt Disney Family Museum, the filmmakers located Riley's hockey rink in the same place the museum is located in San Francisco. When composer Michael Giacchino first discussed the movie's score at a construction site where Pete Docter was building a house, little did he know the location of that meeting would influence the movie's music. But some pieces of metal that Giacchino's son found at the site produced such a nice sound that Giacchino gave them to the percussion section to play with little metal tongs. You can hear them in the first musical cue, just after the memory ball comes down. To make sure they really understood how the mind works and also how a preteen might deal with traumatic events, Inside Out's filmmakers worked with scientists, neurologists, and psychologists. And Dacher Keltner, who's professor of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley, helped them choose which emotions to feature in the film out of the more than 20 emotions that are recognized by psychologists. Now, which is your favorite character in Inside Out and why? And which is your favorite Pixar movie? Tell me in the comments below. So guys, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate you sharing it. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, do please subscribe. I'm going to be making an Easter eggs video for Inside Out, and I'll add a link to that here when it's ready. And I've also got a review of the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 on the way. Thanks for watching and see you next time, yippee-ki-yay movie lovers!